Hey, everybody. Welcome to a brand new episode of Geeks from the Multiverse. We are talking zombie games. And honestly, zombie games should have died years ago, and somehow they didn't. They've gone from arcade shooters to survival horror to full open world chaos, and they're still one of the most playable genres today. So the real question is, are zombie games evolving, or are we just playing the same thing with a different coat of blood? Let's get geeky.
We're geeks from the multiverse. We've come to unite all geeks. Now it's time to get geeky and dive right in, 'cause we're geeks from the multiverse.
Hey everybody, welcome. I'm fixing my microphone. It's like one of those things. My microphone was way too low and I had to fix it. But hey, welcome to a new episode of Geeks from the Multiverse. I am one of your hosts, Grumpy Beard, and with me as always,
Captain Lustache, how you doing, y'all? Yes. Anyways, yes, the zombie game genre. I remember, Matt, like growing up. I mean, I remember going to ready. I'm even going to say the Space Center. Okay.
wow.
He's like, holy crap!
I don't even think it's called Space Center
It's not.
anymore.
It's called something else, and actually, I really don't give a shit for it. But anyways, no. The thing is, so it's just like your local kind of like arcade.
It used to
you
be.
know,
I
used
don't
to
know
be.
what it is now.
It
I mean, it's
is-
more of
it
a
is-
party zone now.
Yeah, but I mean, it's kind of similar to what it was. But basically, you go to like your local arcade and stuff. But like this place, man, it had like House for
House of the Dead.
House. I can't even speak today. House of the Dead. It had Resident Evil. Like it had all the old school zombie games like that. And I mean, it was just cool to go play and shoot the shit out of zombies or just
Yeah.
just do all this stuff. And I mean, you're right though. I mean, like we've talked about zombies in the past, and we've talked about like werewolves and
played
vampires and
we played the shit out of Dead Island and
God.
Dead Island
Oh
Riptide.
my
Let me tell
God.
you that.
yes, we fucking did. When we first met, like some of the games that we were like he was saying, I think actually, if I'm not mistaken, I think the very first game we played was Dead Island.
It could have been, yeah.
It was either that or
It definitely was Red Island before it was Riptide, but
oh yeah, no, did you just say Red Island?
Dead Island.
I thought you said Red Island.
Yeah, I mean it's red
No,
by the time we're done.
I
with
mean
it.
that's true. I think I honestly think we played Dead Island first, but no, I think with me and Matt, it was funny because we now granted, I will say that's like I know Matt's more of that like horror genre, that kind of stuff, but like I will admit that zombie games, it's not as bad, but I mean it's just interesting when you play these games. But you're right though. I mean, for many years, like it was just like you thought it was a dying breed because like when you saw House of the Dead, you saw Resident Evil, you saw all these games, you're just like, oh, okay, and then like you thought it was just kind of like a fad, and just like this
Yeah.
and that. But now it's like we're bringing it back and we're gonna continue this, and I'm just like, okay, well, fuck
Yeah.
it, I guess let's just keep it going, I guess. But we're gonna be talking about all that. But before we jump into all that, we're gonna do our CTA, our call to actions.
Yeah, so real quick, you got to hit that fist bump. So follow, interact, subscribe, and tell a friend. Because we know that some of you listen every week and you still haven't hit that follow button. We see you.
Yes, we do.
We see you. But honestly, like right now, like you can go to geeksfromthemultiverse.com. Everything is there. It's basically our own, podcast hub. You can get episodes, you can get your merch, you can find different, our own playlist on Spotify is on the media page.
True.
I have a book page that's there. We're on YouTube. If you are listening on YouTube, please hit subscribe and follow. Drop a comment. Like we do actually read that stuff, and it does matter. And then also make sure you're doing it on Apple or Spotify, wherever you're listening. Just hit that follow button. You'll get updates on new episodes and
Yeah, and all that fun stuff. I mean, and what Matt's saying too is that, because we're doing this for free, it's not something that we, like we've joked around before. Like, sure, would it be nice to make money off it? Absolutely. But at the same time, I mean, it's not like we both don't have full-time jobs and we don't, just do this. I mean, we do it because we're passionate about this. And so, like, anytime that, you can help us out with any of that stuff, whether it be merch or, the follows, the likes, subscribe, all that stuff. I mean, we're here to do our job, which is just to be passionate as geeks and nerds in the sense of this. But you know what?
Right.
Hey, if you can start, sharing it out with your friends and doing all that fun stuff, it just helps us out in the long
It
run.
helps get the word out, and it helps us, just share the information that we have and that we're doing on the podcast. But yeah, you can visit our website, geeksfromthemultiverse.com. Again, everything is literally there and more. You can contact us. You can go to our Evolve page, and we have a resource vault. We have a lot of different things.
I was going to tell you something, Matt. The other day, I actually talked to a local shop. It was a place called The Vibe. And it was actually interesting because I talked with them for a little bit, and I was like mentioning, and we were kind of having a good time. And I did. So usually when I meet with people, I usually like to kind of describe our very first episode. I always go, "So what is a geek? What is a nerd?" And I kind of go into that conversation, and then I kind of like bring up different topics, and I say, "Hey, are you kind of geeky? Are you nerdy? I guess." And I didn't bring up the dweepa, the dweb, or any of that weird shit that we were playing before, but. I did mention some of that to them, and they're like, "Man, it'd be really cool to be on the podcast." And I'm like, I said, "Well,
well, interesting enough.
Interesting enough. I mean, it's fine." And that's the other thing we're going to say.
We could bring all of our shit to you, and we could do it right here in the store.
And that's exactly what I was going to tell them. I said, if you're ever willing to do it, I said, cross promotion. Hello, whatever you want to do. What I'm saying is to everyone else too is that don't ever think that we can't. Go to you guys. Cause I mean, granted, yes, we just hang out at my house, and do it that way. Yeah. But at the same time, we can always be mobile.
We're pretty mobile. I mean, nothing is nailed down to the floor. So,
well, that's the other thing, right?
Well, I might be, but
I'm not even going to go there. I think your head's nailed to the wall sometimes, but anyways, no,
no, that's cause I'm banging it against the wall.
He's like, cause you need to shut up. Anyways, let's jump right into this.
Yeah. So, zombie games are they're one of those genres that they don't really have like a great start. I feel like the games were really kind of cheaply made. Oh, yeah. I mean, if you look at House of the Dead now, it's like,
oh my god,
what the hell am I playing? But it's it's a genre that just never really disappears. They just, I think, with the shifting in styles, depending on what the game trends are at the time, is the kind of game that you get. Like when Resident Evil was around, we got an influx of these survival horror.
Oh yeah.
And then all of a sudden, it's Elder Scrolls and these open world games. And all of a sudden now it's well, we have to do these open world zombie games like Dead Rising. Dead Rising came before Dead Island did.
Oh yeah.
But you have these open world sandbox games, and I think it really just depends on the era of when the game, when these games were created.
Well, when you look at even some of the the very first like you were saying about House of the Dead, Resident Evil and all that stuff, and you actually look at the graphics. I mean, if you think I'm not saying it's back in the day of 8-bit and Super Mario, that kind of weirdness, but it's pretty cheesy to the point where you're just kind of looking at some of the monsters.
It's not quite as blockheaded as the N64 graphics.
No, but it's bad enough.
But it's pretty bad.
It's because it's kind of blocky too, but it's just you're looking at it from then and then now, and then you're looking at how some of them games, if I'm not mistaken, actually have been remastered. So it's you're playing the games, you're like, wow, that's a lot different than what I remember. But
it is one of those. I mean, when you're playing Dead Island 2.
Oh, don't even get me started on that fucking game.
The not just the backgrounds and the scenery and everything is wonderfully made in the game.
Oh yeah.
But the gore, and it's weird to say this, but the gore is even on a beautiful side. They did such a great job.
Let's get this straight though. This is the worst part about it, because I know we'll talk more about it later.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing about this game is that the fact that Matt and I, when this game was originally announced, okay, this is a story that we can't make this shit up. So we were both like, oh my God, I can't wait to play it. Blah, blah, blah. And they showed a trailer and it looked cool. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. And then it took about 5 or 6 years later when they actually announced the game to finally give us some sort of gameplay. Yeah. And we're like, what the fuck is this shit? And I'm like...
And then finally it just came out and we're like, hey, what the hell?
Right. Well, not even that, but we were just like, what the fuck is this? You went from this to what the fuck is this? All of a sudden. Yeah. And I'm just like, why did it take you that fucking long? And then we, of course, we looked it up and it said like something to do with like the gaming company was either like bought out or sold or something
Right. Yeah.
stupid.
Yeah. They were going through something, but I mean, we kind of go back to this like weird balance of zombies are terrifying and they're, you know, this is like the Resident Evil. Like I remember like playing Resident Evil and like you're walking down hallways and then zombie arms just burst through and scares the shit out of you because you're like,
Yeah, because
you
you
just
don't
didn't
know.
expect it. And that's terrifying. And then all of a sudden we get to games like Dead Rising and Dead Island where it's literally just fun to run around and dismember limbs and heads and like
Oh, yeah.
you're just like, yeah, fuck you zombies. Like you're just running
shit.
around and you have like this weird machete that has broken pieces of metal on it and it's all wired up so it's electrical and you go to slash zombies and they're kibbeing on the ground because they're like getting electric shocked.
Well, I mean, and it's just it's crazy to me because like you go through like the gaming history through like zombie games because so much has evolved and like with whatever mechanics are trending at the time, and so when you're looking at because I like I said going to like the arcade games, right, and you're just like you're having that either shotgun or like that pistol or something like that depending on what game you're playing, versus like now, right, when you're let's say you're playing Dead Island. I mean, just I feel like like in the old school games, like, yeah, sure, you'd have your typical shotgun, maybe a pistol, whatever. But then, like, you look at some of the newer ones and you're like, like Dead Island was so creative on like so many levels of weapons that you could,
Being able to
make and
customize and make, and even though like the actual like firearm weapons like pistols and rifles you can customize with like different mods and different like special like you can add like electrocute or fire to them. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it was just there's more, and that was the thing about it, right? Because like very simple, very basic, old school ways of thinking, but then like these big giant kind of open world concepts, kind of the sandbox as we like to call them now, but like just that the fact that you can kind of walk around, explore, especially like in Dead Island where you're exploring an entire map and it's not like you're stopping.
Yeah.
And then you have to think to yourself, well, fuck, if I get in this car right now, there's about 50 zombies that are gonna come after me and start rampaging my fucking vehicle. So like, it's like you really have to think about that. And another game I was thinking of. Oh man, it'll come back to me, but it was literally it was kind of a newer one. But like the reason why I said this one was so realistic is I know it was a PlayStation exclusive, but it was you're talking like you had to get gas, you had to get your ammo, like you had to be very conservative on what you were doing, and so like some of these games were just so realistic of like like if you were in like basically The Walking Dead, you have to think like I have to
I'm
conserve. all
assuming
this
you're
shit.
either talking about like Days or Days.
Days Gone. That's what it was. Days Gone.
Yeah.
Yes, that one. I mean, I played that and I was like, "Holy shit, this is hard."
Yeah.
Like, because it's realistic. Like, you really have to think about every little detail because if not, you're screwed.
Yeah. So kind of going into we're gonna kind of go into different types. So we're starting in the classics here. And I got to start with Zombies Ate My Neighbors because that actually came out on Super Nintendo.
And
Believe it or not.
I will say that I've never played that game.
But it was almost. I mean, a lot of the games were more about the chaos, the speed, like the weird B movie energy, and this one definitely had that weird type of B movie energy. I mean, we're talking giant babies, we're talking chainsaw guys. The villain basically was a mad scientist named Dr. Tongue.
Yeah, that's fucking weird. Let me guess. Did he have a giant tongue that would come out and start licking you or something?
So you could choose between Zeke and Julie.
Very original names.
Well, but they were basically just a variety of horror movie monsters. There was vampires, werewolves, huge demonic babies, spiders, squid men, evil dolls, aliens, UFOs, giant ants, blobs, giant worms, mummies, chainsaw wielding maniacs, pod people, and zombies.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
yeah, yeah. I guess there were 48 different levels on the game. It was basically like your running gun. It was the overhead view, which Super Nintendo did a lot of the time. It
Oh,
was that
man.
overhead view. Um, there were 48 different levels, but it was basically like parody. It wasn't like about really surviving. It was basically just a game, and it was like you're just trying to make it from one level to the next level. Trying to collect different things, but um, yeah, I don't know if I really played Zombies Ate My Neighbors, to be honest. I did have a Super Nintendo, but
Oh, okay, because I was wondering if you actually played the game. Because like I never
I don't.
honestly until you mentioned it, I had no idea what
Yeah,
this game
I've
was.
heard of the game. I don't think I've ever actually played it. House of the Dead is one I've played, but that was more of an arcade.
Well, that's what I mean. Because I was
Um,
actually surprised it was never an actual like game. Like you would actually get to play it
yeah, I
kind of
don't.
a
I
deal.
mean,
I didn't understand why it was only an arcade game because
maybe if they did it for, I mean, I know that Nintendo had the actual like gun, like the light gun. I don't know if any other system really came out with a light gun.
no, I not well. I would have thought the Nintendo would have. Or
No, no, well,
actually, no,
the
but
original Nintendo did.
right,
Yeah.
yeah. No, but I'm just saying more. Because it did have a story. That's the thing about the game that I don't think
Oh, it
most
definitely
people.
had a story.
Well, because it actually had the dialogue. It kind of reminded me, kind of not so much. It had some similarities to basically, like I would say, Resident Evil a little bit in
So
some
yeah,
ways.
House of the Dead was Sega. Um,
That's why.
and it was 1997 when it was released.
Okay. I mean, that makes a lot more sense. So
Um,
basically, they were competing with.
it basically, I mean, this is saying it was actually the one of the original light gun shooter formats
Okay.
that was in arcades. Um, but it was you basically would get you would walk up to it and it would just have the gun that you pull out of
Yeah,
the
it was like
thing
a
and yeah.
shotgun or like a pistol, depending. Yeah.
So that was like you're playing what they called in the game an AMS agent. And you were basically going against these zombie. I mean, they're zombies, but they're like mutated armies of the undead or something.
Mm.
And it was insane and disillusioned Dr. Curian.
Hmm. I mean,
And
this is
yeah,
what I'm saying. I'm like this was kind of like a not taking Resident Evil, but it was kind of like getting on the same page with it. I mean, it was basically competing with Resident Evil in the sense of that. That's kind of what I was getting the vibe of when when you would originally play. Because I mean, when you look at both Resident Evil and that game, they're not that far off. Like in certain ways. But I mean, just maybe a little bit different of a story. But I would say that they're pretty damn close. So they're just Sega's like, yeah, we're just gonna call it something else so we don't get copyrighted and all that shit.
yeah. So I mean, like I said, you're playing an AMS agent, and we're actually going to be doing one of our special segments called AI Fixed It, where we're talking about the movie. And this is remember this part if you have to come back here, and then go back to the AI Fixed It segment because I mean we're going to be talking about the difference between the movie that was made and this game right here because like I said, you're playing as an AMS agent and you're investigating like the mansion that Dr. Curian it's his mansion.
Right.
And that's kind of like you start on the outside, and when you're playing the game, like you kind of casually stroll in there, um, and you're
Well,
trying to make your way to reach your, I guess it's like your fiance Sophie, um, and the whole game just revolves around you investigating this mansion and trying to save Sophie. That's kind of like what I mean. That's a basic of what the game is about. You can look it up. I mean, there.
no, I actually I was curious because I wanted to know how many games were there, and I mean, I didn't realize that. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 technically were in the actual main series games, and then you had 4 spin-offs or variations: the Typing of the Dead, the House of the Dead, or the House of the Dead Overkill, the Pinball of the Dead.
Pinball of the English of the Dead.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's nice. Yep. And then Zombie Revenge. And then it says, additionally, the House of the Dead 2 and 3 Return was released as a compilation for the Wii, and then the House of 2 remake is also in the development. Oh, apparently it is in development. So I didn't realize that the House of the Dead actually had a remake in the last few years, actually. So that's interesting to know because I had no idea.
Well, I mean, this is saying, yeah, the two and three were released for the Wii Zapper,
The Wii Zappa.
the Wii Zappa.
Well, I'm just surprised that the House of the Dead, when they, I love how like on the title it says House of the Dead and it just has right under the gold letter remake. Like why didn't you just, I don't know.
Yeah, well, a remake was announced in April of 21 for the Nintendo Switch.
Oh.
So House of the Dead remake was developed by Megapixel Studio and published by Forever Entertainment under license from Sega.
Interesting.
The game was expected to launch March 2022, but ultimately was released on April. Ports for PlayStation 4, Stadia, Windows, and Xbox One were released on April 22, followed by Xbox Series X on September of 22, and PlayStation 5 in January of 23. So there you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I had no, see, these are things I had no idea.
But I mean, it was basically, it was your basic arcade zapper type game. I mean, you had really fast shooting. I think the pistols that you played,
I thought I thought it also had like a shotgun.
I think the original had pistols.
Okay. At one point, I thought they had shotguns.
There might have been another game. Maybe like the second game had shotguns.
Something like that. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
one of them that did.
But this one was like fast shooting. I mean, the voice acting was way over the top. And it didn't really, I mean, I don't think it was really more about realism than it was just, trying to make a fun arcade game. But these games were not built around like your reaction time, and it was more about like fun. That the zombies were targets and not threats. Like it wasn't like you were playing Dead Island and you're getting surrounded by a horde.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, I mean, I guess it would be like, if you were playing on your, let's say like the original Nintendo, like Duck Hunt, I mean, I'm not saying like quite like that, but like the sense of like, okay, hold on, like kind of doing that. But like
Yeah,
in this case, it's more fast moving.
It just was a different type of game. But I mean, like I said before, House of the Dead really did help define the light gun shooters in arcades, because it became like a staple for that era. I mean, you have now hunting games. You have, I don't remember the name of that the cop shooter one where you had to actually step on the pedal to like turn the corners. You remember what I'm talking about?
Yeah. I do. I can't.
I don't remember what the game was, but you had to like step on the pedal and like let it go to
like turn to the side and I mean, and then if you think about it, I mean, there's like I mean, you and I played it. I mean, but it was like the Halo game, and like a few other games. Like they decided to make.
I think we played that at what
Dave and Buster's. Yeah,
Dave and Buster's. Yeah.
Well, I mean, but like that's what we're saying is like without a game like this, you really couldn't have had a lot of these other even like different.
I mean, would have somebody figured it out? Probably, but I mean, we're talking a game that really just started that like revolution, that trend of light gun shooters, and it's relevant because like zombie games didn't start as like real serious horror. They were just flexible, chaotic,
just let
environments, and the tone definitely shifted. I think Resident Evil came out, if I remember right, about 96.
Let's see.
But Resident Evil like literally just changed the zombie game in general, because and I don't think it was the first, but it was definitely one of those survival horror games that your character wasn't a strong character. It was very weak and limited. I mean, you didn't find out if you found a gun in Resident Evil, it had what, like 3 bullets in it. Like,
oh yeah, it was.
You're walking around with like very small amounts of ammo. There were tight spaces. The camera angles in Resident Evil 1, and I think maybe 2, but just the camera angles alone were just crazy. I mean, you have that like claustrophobic fear going through the mansion, really tight areas where you're walking through. Like I said, that hallway, you're not expecting arms to come flying into the windows. And all of a sudden, when they do, like you jump out of your seat because it's the music and the arms flying out at you. Like it scares the crap out of you.
So yeah, so I did look it up. Resident Evil originally came out in '96. Funny enough, House of Dead also came out in 1996. So
Wow.
it was interesting how they both came out at the same time. But yeah, no, it's interesting how that's the case. But but the difference is House of the Dead, like there's only so many games. When you look at a Resident Evil, you can't even begin to tell you how many games there are because
There are 9 or 10 now.
oh no.
I mean, as
Oh,
far as like the main, I'm talking the main,
okay, hold on.
the main
Well,
game.
then I have to look that up because I can tell you the amount of games is a different story. Let's see.
No, I don't need like Resident Evil Squirrel City that was on like fucking Game Boy or some shit. Like I'm
So,
talking just the
okay,
main.
So let's see. I'm counting. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 main games, and then they have like like Resident Evil Survivor, Resident Evil Survivor 2, Resident Evil Gaiden, and like all these other weird ones that are in between. I'm just
I
counting.
mean, I think the highlighted ones. If you're looking at the same page I am.
Yeah, well, no, yeah, the more deeper color ones. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I counted 11.
That's 5, 6, 7. Resident Evil Village is technically 8, and then Resident Evil Requiem is 9. Those are like the main console.
Well, yeah, but hold on.
games.
You had Resident Evil 0. You had Resident Evil Code Veronica was another one. You had Evil, of course, Nemesis, and that's why I was.
But I mean,
counting all
Code Veronica and 0 weren't part of like the main.
that. Okay, well,
main story as far as I know.
Apparently, it says major original releases
and honestly,
gold, so that's
Code Veronica was developed for the Dreamcast. I don't know of anybody who actually played a Dreamcast. To be
who
honest.
had a fucking Dreamcast? I don't know. Apparently, not anyone around here. I can tell you that. But anyways, let's get back to what we were talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I think to be honest, Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3 were probably kind of the better of them. Not that I don't like the newer stuff, and I'm not dissing Resident Evil at all, but certainly when you go from being afraid of zombies to having some weird tall woman chasing you and wherever you're being chased, like that's different to me.
Well, yeah, and then or for example, like Biohazard, where you have a family who just is creepy as shit.
I think I played one and this freaking hillbilly dude was chasing me, and I'm like, what the fuck is
Biohazard?
This?
That's the family.
Like, what the hell is happening? Like, where are the zombies in this?
They're
Why?
not.
Why is some
Yes, it was like
hillbilly serial killer chasing me?
it's exactly what it was, and they're fucking weird, man, in that game. But
no,
anyways.
they are. But I mean, it's one of those things. Like in that game, the zombies were slow. They didn't chase you necessarily. I mean, they went after you, but they were slow. And you have, I mean, and definitely like in that first one, when you're going around the mansion, like there's a lot to explore. There's things that like you have to open and little puzzles here and there.
Well, it also had like if I'm not mistaken, like you're kind of like in that. It's kind of weird, like you're looking at them, but the camera angles would never really change. It was only you're looking at them at the side.
It's almost sort of like the God of War style, like the original
Yes.
God of War style, where the camera didn't really move around you; you just kind of moved within the scene.
Yes,
Yeah.
basically.
And then Resident Evil 2. That's where in the end of the first movie, like you have that scene with the fire trucks all on fire and everything. Like you actually start where that movie ended in Resident Evil 2.
Okay.
And then you make your way over to the police station, and the game pretty much takes the entire police station. But you get to see Raccoon City, you get to see the police station and different spots. So it gave you more of a expanded world other than just being inside of a mansion. And then Resident Evil 3, that's where you get kind of your bigger nemesis enemy in that game.
That's the name, Resident Evil 3, Nemesis.
Yeah. But it brought you that, like, you have kind of this, like, passive fear of, like, zombies just coming out of nowhere.
Oh, yeah.
To this nemesis now is actually something that, hunts you throughout the game. other than the stupid fucking liquors. Like those drove me nuts in all the games.
Let me guess. No, I'm kidding. He's like, let me.
They
I'm
don't
show you.
they don't like walk up to you and like lick the shit out of you like a dog. No. But they are a pain in the ass. I mean, the games were just the way that they made like the environment scary and the music and the jump scares. Like it just was at the time. I mean, they're really perfect games as far as survival horror. And I hate I hate horror games. Like I don't play them.
Hold on a second. I want to time you out there. What the hell do you mean you don't play horror games?
I don't play horror games.
Hold on. The man who loves watching like some of the most gruesome horror movies and all this other crap, he doesn't play horror games?
There's just something about horror games. I don't know if it's just my anxiety or if it like puts me...
what is the difference between a movie and a game in this sense? Because I'm curious now for your sake, because you already know I'm not a big fan of horror in general, but like the fact that you're telling me you don't even like playing the games is a different story.
I just don't like it. I don't know.
Okay, fine.
I just don't like it. You know, it's just one of those things. Like I can't think of the game. It's not. It doesn't have to do with zombies. But I actually think the people like were more of like drug users and weird. Like they were just kind of like weird, tripped out and stuff.
I was thinking of Far Cry, but go ahead.
No, it wasn't Far Cry. But in the game, I mean, there's another game too. But in the game, like. You only, I mean, if you have a pistol, you have like, it's like Resident Evil, like where you have 2 bullets for it. It doesn't help you out, but you have to like pull pipes off the wall or pick up like boards on the ground. And there's this one scene where like, it's sort of like a warehouse, but it's all dark. The lights are flickering and it's creepy, right? Creepy scene. And there's a scene, it's like you're walking around and I'm just holding a pipe. And these people come out of nowhere, and before like you can even react to them running up to you, they're already in your face, and you just hear like high-pitched screams coming out. Like it scares the crap out of you because like you just don't see them coming, and all of a sudden like, ah! And like you're like, oh my God, I gotta get out of here. Like
I'm gonna say this. If somebody
get out of here.
If somebody could see what I just saw, I think you'd probably be like, what the fuck did I just watch right now? Because I literally looked at Matt and I'm like, holy shit, if he actually
But that's literally what happened. And I'm like, I can't fucking play this. I think like the original Alan Wake was one of those too.
That's what I was wondering because I was about to mention that
there were ghosts in that one, and it's like, oh, if you shine your flashlight, well, the flashlight is like the size of the end of your pencil when you flash it somewhere. Like the little round thing that's at the end of your pencil, that's about the diameter of that dude's fucking flashlight, and you're like, oh, I just gotta shine it at the ghost and they go away. Well, as soon as you shine it on one, there's one fucking behind you screaming like a banshee and chasing you, and you're like, I can't get them all. Like, no, I'm sorry, I'm not. I can't do it. I can't do it.
I can't do it. It's too much.
I just can't do it. It's too much. I can't do it.
So the question I was gonna have for you earlier was, would you rather verse a liquor, or in The Last of Us, it was that little, that clicker.
A liquor or a clicker? Can I put them together?
I don't know. Which one would you rather verse, a clicker or a liquor?
Probably the liquor, because at least I can shoot it. And
oh, you didn't want to hear the clicker?
Well, no, because The Last of Us, it was not really about killing them. It was trying to get around them without making noise. So it was more like
you can.
It was kind of like the Metal Gear Solid when you're trying to like move around people. And
I mean, I was just curious because I mean, now hold on, but now in real life, which one would you rather?
I'd rather not see any.
He's like, I'd rather fucking walk the fuck away. He'd be like, especially if I was Alan Wake, I'd fucking walk out of that town like it was nothing.
So you already said this, but we already talked about it. But Resident Evil did popularize this like fixed camera angle in games to create that tension and limit your like kind of awareness of the surrounding.
See, well, in my opinion, I think it was. I understand that people would say it was popular, but here's the thing, though. It is the most annoyingest fucking thing on the planet.
Oh, no, it is really annoying. And I don't know if it really popularized it because I want to say like some of the Mario games very early on had that fixed camera style.
Well, because the only one I could think of that really kind of didn't as much was like the Super Mario. Was it 64? I think when like you could like kind of change the angle of like where you were looking,
Right.
but it would go with you. But like, yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, if you're
I
looking,
feel like a lot of the classic games had that, but maybe Resident Evil just kind of made it more mainstream because of how successful
yeah, and
it
I
was.
mean, maybe if you look at it too, I mean, I would always think of like Metal Gear Solid too, because like some of the
Oh, Metal Gear Solid definitely was one of those like fixed camera.
right, because that's all you could look at was a camera. There was nothing else you could. It's not like you were like, oh, okay, I can actually see in first person. Like, no, you couldn't do any of that shit. So it's like, a lot of these old school games really focused on those angles, which I was like, because I feel like in most of these old school games, like they just didn't get the idea of like, okay, well, maybe we can look around because it was really until like we've said, like once once technology actually increased and did all this, like you actually oh wait, you got first person shooters and you actually
Right.
got all this
Yeah.
stuff. But like these games, I get it. Like this is just what it was, and that's how they
Hey.
decided to do it.
But and like we said before too, and then the Nemesis was one of the first enemies designed to dynamically pursue a player throughout the game.
See, and that to me is a little weird because I love how literally it was one villain who was just chasing the fuck out of you out of an entire game.
Yeah.
Not nobody else, just this one dude. Like
And even that moment, like every time the freaking Nemesis would come out, you're in that like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, it's behind me, oh shit, and you're like, oh good, I'm safe. Or
for 2
"Ah,
seconds.
fuck, he got me.
Yeah, and then like 5 minutes later, you're like fuck, he came back again.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, in this kind of like survival horror, I think this is where zombie games I think really gained weight, for that fear, the atmosphere. It was really more about survival than it was just like, hey, I'm gonna play this for 45 minutes and just kill zombies. Like Resident Evil definitely wasn't that, and it's not
No.
that now. It's more story based. Like even modern games now have that same formula in some way. Like they use that same kind of formula.
Well, I was gonna say for Matt loves those cinematic games where like you play for a minute and then like
You know what? I
back
don't.
to a movie.
I don't mind it. I just don't want the whole game just to be like. If I wanted to watch a movie, I would watch the movie. Like
What, you didn't want to play a game that was like
I want to
cutscenes?
actually you know, like Spider-Man too.
That's what I was gonna say. I was wondering if you're gonna mention that.
You play like a little portion, and then it's like you might as well put your controller on the charger and just watch the movie because you're getting about like 15 minutes of movie, and then you're like, oh, I can play again. Cool.
And then you're
Like
like,
I'll go make dinner and
he's like, hold on, let me just pause it real quick. Hold on. Yep. No, I mean, I do agree with you that, I mean, I feel like a lot of, like, especially modern games now have really taken that cinematic style to another level. And I mean, some of it's good. Don't get me wrong. Like, it's nice when you can get a cutscene where you're like, okay, it kind of helps explain the story, but it doesn't need to be the entire game. Like, like have cutscenes and do all that, like what they would normally do. But,
Yeah.
and then moving on to,
We're getting into our AI fixed it.
I fix it, Hollywood broke it. Drop that mic, yeah, we roast it, smoke it. Blueprints here, follow it.
well, that was a little bit
Yeah, that was
different.
special.
Well, no, because honestly, I was like, I'm surprised that you chose that one. I would have thought you would have chose the original one, but hey,
It's on the task cam.
it's fine.
You know what I mean?
But anyways, yes. So
Yes.
now we're talking about the House of the Dead, the movie, and again, not the prequel that wasn't right. So
Well, this is the prequel that wasn't
Oh, sorry,
because this
sorry.
movie was supposed to be a prequel. But what we do with AI versus Hollywood, in case you're
New
new
to the-
here and you live under a rock,
or you like what was it? The underwater basket weaving or the kitten
Yeah, yeah,
channels, all that shit.
but we go to AI and we say, "Hey, House of the Dead, can you come up with 5 problems with this? 5 real problems with this movie, and then give us 5 solutions that you would use to fix it." And so we have 5 problems with House of the Dead, and we have 5 solutions. So we will go through our problems with this movie because there's a lot of them. I mean, if I have to say, Bowl is the one that made this movie, you should know that name as a person who does shitty ass game adaptation movies because we've talked about him before.
But anyways, you know what? I'll talk about the first one here. So yes, prequel to what exactly? So a prequel is supposed to be, oh wait, the setup to a main story, right? So in this movie, right?
What it is?
Well, you would think.
Oh,
But it's funny how they always get a movie and then you get like 2 or 3 movies after that, and then you go back to a prequel. You notice that with a lot of movies, they do that?
well, that's because they fucked it up.
No, because then what they do is they wait till the third movie.
You know what? I think it would be good to go before these.
Yeah, before everything happened. And you're like, well, why the fuck didn't you do that in the first or second movie, maybe? And then kind of did a prequel or whatever. But anyways.
Anyways.
So in this movie, right, it doesn't introduce AMS. It doesn't set up the mansion incident. It doesn't establish the outbreak properly, right? So when the game starts, nothing from the movie matters at all, right? And that's not a prequel. That's a disconnected side quest nobody asked for. I mean, it's true because, like, if you're gonna wait, hold on. What's that? What's that famous quote that we usually say? Follow the fucking no. I'm gonna say follow the fucking blueprint because you had the fucking document in your hand, or at least you had something to go off of.
You have a game.
You have.
If you're doing a prequel, it should end where the game starts. I mean, it's. Yeah, I digress.
He's like, back to problem number 2.
Number 2, Dr. Curian is basically non-existent. And you're telling me this is before the events of the game, and the main villain, Dr. Curian, is barely a factor. Like, that's like doing a Batman prequel with no Joker, no Gotham setup, and no Bruce Wayne arc. Like, the entire point, and we just said this, the entire point of the prequel should be showing how the villain got there, what happened in the creation of the events of the game.
Right. And so if you're not, setting up the story properly to make sense to if you decide to, follow it through the game, like if you were going to play, let's say the original, The House of the Dead, and then, it doesn't make any fucking sense. And then you're just like, okay, we're not going to set anything and we're just going to bullshit our way through this and then be like, okay, yep, this is how it ends. And then like, wait a minute, I'm playing this game and this has nothing to do with what the fuck I just watched. So then, so problem number 3, right? So the outbreak has no origin or escalation, right? So in a prequel, we should see these things, right? So you should see early experiments, first failures, the moment things spiral. Instead, right, you have zombies just exist like they clocked in for their shift, right? And so there's no cause, no tension, no payoff. So, and I mean, I like that little, like, zombies just exist, they clocked in for their shift. Like, I mean, it's true. Like, you gotta. Okay. Bob. Okay. Like, I just feel like in this case, like, if you don't have like a starting point, right, and especially like, I'm gonna, I'm even gonna bring up Matt's book that he did, that was also an AI, or not AI, sorry, it was AI versus Hollywood. When you're looking at, the Echoverse, right? Like, it started with a point. It started somewhere and it developed and did all this shit. If you're not doing anything regarding of how this game started from the very beginning, and just like we mentioned before, Dr. Curian here, if you're not basing it off of anything regarding of how the fuck this started, then how the fuck are you supposed to make a movie?
Yeah. So if you're wondering, this movie starts with a group that booked a boat trip to attend a rave on an island located off the coast of Seattle.
Hey, question. Doesn't that sound like...
It sounds like Dead Island to me, but...
It does, especially... never mind. Yeah. Go ahead.
But the island is named Isla del Morte, which is, I guess, Island of Death.
Oh, you don't say Morte.
And so these 5 arrive to this island, and they find the rave site is ransacked and deserted.
And then they hear...
This is where the whole movie starts, and there's instantly zombies.
Hey,
like, there's no setup and no nothing.
Hey, question for you.
Yeah.
Voodoo, you voodoo, bitch. He's like, oh, and up there. Okay, yeah, that's.
And this is where I'm getting to problem number 4: is nothing leads to the mansion incident, and the game starts with agents, the AMS agents, responding to a mansion overrun with creatures. Overrun with zombies, because that's what they look like in the game.
Yeah.
So logically, the prequel should end with the situation getting out of control, the mansion becoming ground zero. Instead, the movie just ends like it forgot it had homework. Like it forgot where it was supposed to end. There's no mansion. They're on a fucking island.
Oh, I guess they're just on a fucking island. I guess that's how it starts. You know?
Nothing leads to the mansion.
Well, if you don't have Dr. Curie, then I guess there's just no point of having a mansion.
It's just there's nothing, and I can tell you kind of where it ends. Like they're basically the two main characters are Alicia and Rudy. They're aided out of some tunnels by a mysterious man wearing Greg's face as a mask.
That's lovely.
And this guy orders a horde of zombies to restrain Alicia. I'm not making this up. To restrain Alicia and Rudy in an attempt to kill them and use their flesh for his own purposes.
Oh, lovely.
They escape. They blow up the tunnels. This guy Castillo, he's the guy wearing Greg's face. He managed to survive the explosion. However, the still alive headless body of Castillo begins to strangle Rudy. You know, I can't even I can't even continue reading this because of how fucking stupid it is.
Well, so
but you can get the gist. Like they're not at a mansion. There's no mansion.
Well, here's the thing, right? That leads into our next problem, right? So this tone doesn't match the world it's setting up. Oh, what do you know?
Oh, you
Great
don't
segue,
say.
right? So you can't have party boats, a techno rave nonsense, as the foundation for a dark bio-horror government incident. It's like setting up a Resident Evil prequel at Coachella. I mean, I would love to see that, but
that would be interesting, yes.
It would. But then, the tone completely undercuts the world it's supposed to build, right? So like we were just saying about all these fucking problems, you have a fucking blueprint.
It's like they're like, oh, let's do a movie based on the game. Where's the game? I don't know. I didn't buy it.
Oh, did you play it? No.
Nope.
So do you want to make this shit up?
Yep.
He's like, wait, every Hollywood director ever?
Yeah. So, no, just you, Bull.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
So the 5 AI fixes that make it an actual prequel is, number 1, the fixes. We start with Dr. Curian's early experiments.
Wow, you mean actually mention him?
Actually mention him and show him doing stuff. Like you open the movie inside a facility. Dr. Curian, he's working on reanimation. You see early subjects. They show promise, but then instability. You see the ethical lines getting erased real quick. And we get to see the origin of everything. Like,
wait, wouldn't that mean there would be a mansion?
Establishing the origin of everything.
And then, of course, fix number 2, right? Introduce the first outbreak as a controlled failure.
Oh, you don't say.
So the incident should start small, right? A single subject escapes a containment. Maybe staff begins disappearing. Security locks down the island. Oh, well, maybe it should be a mansion.
Who do you voodoo, bitch?
Oh, of course, now he wants to say it. He's like, after I said it. And then gradual escalation, and then there's not instant chaos, right? So let the audience feel the moment everything slips, right? So like, again, building up, it's like building the story. You're building it up. You're not just like slowing it or like, throwing all this random ass shit and be like, here you go. And you're like,
yeah,
what the fuck did I just walk into?
All right. So fix number 3, bring in AMS as a response team. So this might be like mid-movie. You show AMS getting a distress call. A small team is sent to investigate. They don't know quite what they're walking into, but this idea of bringing AMS in ties directly to the game.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Follow the damn blueprint.
But you tie it to the actual game, and you could even explain at the end of this movie that maybe this response team disappears, which is why they send in a whole nother team. Oh, you don't say.
You don't say. And then fix number 4, right? Turn the facility into the future mansion. Wow. The island location evolves into, ready? The exact estate/mansion from the game. Hidden labs beneath it. Surface looks normal underneath is hell. Right? By the end, it's fully overrun.
What does that sound like?
Huh.
Resident Evil?
Oh, I was thinking Dead Island, but no. No. But I mean, yes. No, you're right.
That sounds exactly like
yeah. And then by the end, it's fully overrun, right? So now when the game begins, it feels like a continuation, not a reset. So again, do we have to explain ourselves? Do we have to get tattoos on our forehead that says "Follow the damn blueprint" or something?
Well, you can.
I mean, I think you should. I really think. Actually,
all right.
I really
So
think the back.
number 5, you end with failure, not victory. This is key because the prequel should end with the AMS team being wiped out or forced to retreat. I don't like that forced to retreat shit, but it should end with them being completely wiped out. Infection spreading beyond control. Kyrian is still alive or transformed, depending on where you want to go with that. And the final shot, an emergency call goes out. And this is exactly what I just said before. New agents are dispatched. And then, boom, that's your direct lead into the game. You end the movie where the game begins. That's what makes it a fucking prequel. Like, you look at Star Wars Episode 3. It ended where number 4 took over.
Because that's how it should have ended.
Right. You call this movie a prequel. It's like showing up late, ignoring the assignment, and still expecting credit for the assignment.
Hey, I did it, right? You're like, no, this wasn't the assignment whatsoever. Telling me that how a dog shits your homework out of its ass, like, it does not complete the assignment that basically it was about, a World War II assignment. You're like, what the fuck is this shit about? Like, this has nothing to do with the assignment.
This movie had nothing to do with the game. You can say it's a prequel. You can say like, oh, well, it's in the same universe. This is not in the same.
First of all, we're
universe.
in this. We're talking like
we're
fucking
on
galaxy.
Earth, and I don't fucking know where the hell you are.
It must be a different galaxy. That's where I'm thinking.
Yeah, it's from Galaxy Stupid.
It's Galaxy Stupid. And then of course with this version, right? Oh wait, it actually does the homework, and it sets the game up like it was supposed to.
And why? Because it followed the fucking blueprint.
He's like, wait a minute. He's like, wait a minute. Why did you say
now he
fucking?
swapped?
He's like, I did swap because I wanted to say the line, and you're like, no, we followed the fucking blueprint. I was like, okay, fine, fuck it, whatever.
Yes, and that is
AI.
AI fixed it,
bitch. Anyways, and then going on.
This is one of my favorite games, and we're getting into like the co-op and the co-op, and horde chaos, because Left 4 Dead is one of my favorite games ever to play, and this game actually had an AI director system built into it, and every time that you played, it was different. You never had the same run, and each mission set. I mean, Left 4 Dead didn't really have much of a plot. I'll give you that, but each one was like a movie. That's how it played. And so when you're playing each of these missions, it's like you're kind of reenacting this movie. And it actually tells you like how many zombies died during the filming of this movie, like at the end.
Oh God.
But what it did was like you had these like really cool special infected. This is like kind of where the start of these like special infected, because you had your hunters and they would crawl around and actually jump on you and then scratch the shit out of you. You had smokers. They had like a really super long tongue, and they would like stand on top of buildings, and you would hear them like and like you would know because you would hear them coughing, and you're like, shit.
Those fucking
and then
bastards are back.
They basically would rope you around the neck, and you would be hanging there until one of your buddies like shot it. You had the and I don't remember what the big fat ones were called, but they basically were like
blobs.
No, they like spit up, like they kind of puked up this like bile.
Oh, so like
and
an acid
it attracted other zombies.
Well, it kind of reminds me of when you and I played Back 4 Blood.
Yes, they had a similar one there. Yeah.
Well, no, what I mean is like because I know they were
Back
the
4
same...
Blood was made by the same people that made Left 4 Dead. That's
right, but the issue was with that game is just
it just sucked. Yeah,
it just sucked.
But yeah, this one you had those special infected that it forced you to be a team instead of like being individuals. But this game, I mean, it was so fun. You could play for a solid 45 minutes, and it just was fun. And the whole point of the game was you get from one safe room to the next safe room, and you had like it was like 3 or 4 levels that you had to get through to get there. And one of the funniest things that I used to always do, because there were witches. They call them witches in the game, but literally would just be this like girl sitting on the ground, and you can hear her crying.
Well, so, and this is why I keep bringing it back for blood because like they had very similar
Yeah, it was very
things.
similar things, and like if the witch, like if you were too noisy or you woke her up, she would fucking chase you throughout the entire section. Like you could run all the way back to the safe room, and you can't close the door unless you get to the next one. But like she would chase you and then instantly kill you. But it was like you just heard this like, and you're like, oh fuck. Oh fuck! Let's just sneak around this. Like,
So hold on. So when Matt mentions, this whole sneaking around thing, why don't we explain how many times have we played games together and you're like, we're going in loud, baby.
unless you in Left 4 Dead, and like unless you had a shotgun, you were not sneaking around the witch. You could try, but she'd always like wake up. But you could, and this is what made it fun for like me and the people I was playing with at the time, because like you literally could walk up to the witch and it was just like boom, 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 boom. You unload your clip into the witch and she'd die. But you literally had to like just unload your shotgun into her for her to die. Because if you didn't, like if you had like 3 shots and you're like, I'm gonna kill this witch with 3 shots, no,
You're done.
she's chasing you and scratching the shit out of you. But
Now, I will say this next one because I know this is one of Matt's favorite games of all time, even though he's like, don't you fuck.
I'm gonna go into. I mean, you can go ahead and talk about it, but when you're done, like I will say what I've always wanted Call of Duty Zombies to be.
Okay. So, yes, I do. So, like, I remember playing the very, very first time when Call of Duty actually was like doing this whole zombies mode, which was technically in World War. Sorry, it was World at War. Sorry, not World War II. So this one, like when you first played it, you're just like, oh my god, what is this? And then you started playing it, and then it's fuck, I can't remember the name of the map that originally started, but like this game, right? It really started out as like a side mode, and then turned into a full blown like subculture, which it did, right? And so like of course, like if you've ever
It's
played,
not in every Call of Duty. It's
Well,
like
no.
it was like every other.
no, it was, and it was only specifically
Was
for
it
certain
Treyarch? Is it Treyarch that makes?
Yes, I think it was Treyarch because Infinity War never did that. So because the only one time they ever did that was of course one of the remakes.
Yeah, Black Ops, I think, had zombies.
So
right?
Black Ops. So basically anything that Treyarch ever did, from like World at War to like Black Ops and doing all that, like that's how zombies really kind of came to be. But the thing was, of course, about it was like it was round based survival, created that addictive, one more run loop that kept players coming back. And like COD Zombies, they added the secrets, the Easter eggs, the lore, giving players something to chase beyond survival. So like, and I'll mention this last part and then I'll get into it real quick. Is like, this era made zombie games social. You just weren't surviving; you were, surviving together. So like, it's true. Like, so when you look at like Left 4 Dead and you're looking at COD Zombies, I mean, I know they're 2 totally separate games, but like at least with the COD Zombies piece, once basically everything was like online, right? So like when you started to play like World at War, kind of moving forward with all that, like it's true. I mean, Matt and I played a lot of the zombies in the new Black Ops 6, for example. We did a lot of that stuff and we were, going through it all and doing all that stuff. But, some of the other games, like you'll notice like in each, for whatever reason, like every time that they ever did like a zombies, map or, some of the weird shit that they would, pull. I mean, it would show a story. Like if you beat, the map, you'd actually see a story and you kind of follow through with it. But it was interesting enough where, especially, I think it was it Vanguard?
I think it
It was Vanguard, I think.
I think it was Vanguard.
Yeah, because you were like, it's kind of weird because like all these weird different games that they would have like in between like Black Ops and like, with, why can I not think of it? Modern Warfare and all that stuff. Like, some of these weird one-off things, like, they'd have zombies, they'd have all this. And it was weird how they did it all. But like, I think one of the weirdest ones I ever played, which it was actually the only time they never actually did zombies, was Ghost.
Yeah.
When they had the stupid alien. That was the dumbest thing they could have ever done. But like,
Yeah, it was stupid.
no, but like, when you look at the zombies though, I mean, it really was a subculture and it still kind of is. But like, when you're playing it though, especially from like, that World at War and then like kind of moving forward, like, some of the maps were interesting enough where, and I mean, I've seen people do like time trials on it. I've seen people, try to do all the fucking Easter eggs and all this stuff. I mean, shit. I know with Black Ops 6, they basically, when they release the map, they're like, okay, well now you have this like, you don't know what to fucking do. I guess go figure it out.
Well,
So
I
you'd
mean,
have to
half the
go in there
time-
and
half the time you jump into the COD zombies and you're with other fucking people that don't do any of the tasks. So like you're running around trying to do it and you're getting surrounded by zombies because you're doing it by yourself. And that was like the tricky thing. But I've always said for a while, and we do have to kind of move forward here, but I've always said for a while, like they should have made zombies being more of, yes, you can run around the map, you can do certain things, but they should have made it a more of a co-op mission based and not wave based. Because all of the Call
Yeah.
of Duty zombies is that way, you're basically surviving waves, and you can say like, well, it is mission based. Yeah. Nobody does this shit. Like, and I know because I've played a lot of zombies on Black Ops, and
oh yeah.
nobody does the shit. But if you had to go like and actually do real missions, it wasn't wave based. It was more like Left 4 Dead, where you had hordes of zombies coming at you, trying to accomplish like a mission like you do in the campaign. I think zombies would be so much like it would be elevated a lot higher.
So another thing I was thinking about is what they really should have done a long time ago is actually made a zombies game. I really think they should have.
Well, I think they tried doing a lot of that with DMZ, but DMZ fucking sucked,
no,
dude.
well,
Like I
so
hated
hold on. The original idea for DMZ was great. It was when they decided to make DMZ into the zombie fucking mode shit that they combined both worlds. That was the piece that I was like, don't ever fucking do that shit again. DMZ as itself, I actually liked. It was when they decided, oh, let's just combine it with zombies and let's just see how that fucking
See,
works.
DMZ always felt like to me it was like going into the dark zone in Division 2. It's sort of like playing GTA.
Or it's kind of like playing Warzone at that point.
Yeah,
I mean, just doing whatever the fuck you want.
You're
but-
competing with other people who are just in the DMZ. Like they're not in there to do what the actual stuff to do is. Like they jump in just to hijack other fucking players, and I know that that's part of being in there, but that drives me nuts. Like I want to just be able to do something like that
Well,
in
yeah.
a large scale without having to worry about like a whole crew of fucking people coming in and just destroying us. You know what I mean? Like,
no, I understand. And I mean, I know with zombies, like I said, I mean, if they ever did actually make like kind of like what they're doing now with the whole Call of Duty thing. I mean, if they actually just had a zombies game and then just kept like say, okay, here's some DLC or whatever, and like here's a new map or here's this and that.
they really need to not do it wave based though. That's
No,
what
I
I'm saying,
mean,
like because but
if
by
they-
the time you get to like 15, like you can't even destroy any of them.
No, because at that point you need to have like level 3 pack a punch, and then you need to have like your armor be at level 3.
Yeah, ridiculous.
No, but what I do agree with you. I mean, if it was like a co-op based mission, and like in the sense of like if you're looking at Left 4 Dead and things like that, where you're playing missions to do all that. I mean, it would have been different. I mean, but as we both know, I actually I disinstalled Call of Duty a little while ago because I was just like to the point where it was getting ridiculous. It was just getting to the point where I'm like, I don't even know what Call of Duty is trying to do anymore. And and it
I haven't
sucks.
even bought the new. I didn't
No,
even buy the new
I
one.
I know you didn't buy the new one, and honestly, I
only bought
regret
the
it.
other one because of Beavis and Butthead. Actually.
Well, I know it was because you said you would never buy another one again because the last time you bought one was, I think it was Vanguard at the time, when that was the last time you ever like played Call of Duty. And then when Beavis and Butthead came, you're like, oh, I'm gonna fucking play it. And then I said, what the fuck are you playing? And he's like,
Yeah. And then I was like,
Oh.
you know what? I'm done with Call of Duty. But hey, we got to move on to some of the ones that we've played. I don't know if you've ever played Dead Rising, but the Melee and Sandbox Mayhem. I mean, I can't say enough about Dead Island. I love Dead Island. It's kind of that first person perspective. I wouldn't really call it a shooter because you can do melee.
I mean, it's kind of both. I mean, it wasn't really so focusing on the the actual like guns in the sense. I mean, it was more just being creative in the melee weapons is really what.
Oh, I
a
know.
lot of it
I
was.
know. Riptide. I had some crazy ass.
Oh
like,
yeah, and well, and
I
that's
had pistols and
and that
assault
kid-
rifles, and they had like 9 million
yeah,
bullets.
because that kid gave you. He's like, hey, you want to see a trick? And then he just started giving
Yeah.
you all this
So
shit.
yeah, funny story. I was on Riptide. I was playing, and the original Dead Islands is sort of like the the first few Borderlands. Like
Yeah.
they have the same online format where if I'm playing on Dead Island, any person could basically join your game.
Right.
Like
and
it
you
was
could
just kind of
go
like
right there.
So I had this kid. He probably he sounded like he was like probably 10 or 12, and he was like, "Hey, do you have any of these guns?" I'm like, "No," and then he just started dropping pistols and rifles and shotguns, and I'm picking them up, and I'm like, "These fucking guns have 9 million bullets in them," and he's just dropping them like left and right, and like we're playing a little bit, and I have all the weapons. I'm like, I'm out. I just left, and then I went into a new private match by myself. But then like we started playing, and I was like, hey, I can dupe all the because at the time there was a dupe glitch
yeah,
in
there's
the
a glitch,
game,
yep.
and I duped a whole bunch of these guns. I think we like went and sold a whole bunch of
Oh, yeah,
them,
and then we
like
just
we
started-
were like rich and running around like with 9 million bullets per weapon. It was great.
Oh yeah, and they were
Um,
like it was like almost like gold status with a lot of these weapons, and that was the best part about like a game like that where, you just kind of get to do whatever the fuck you want. Where a lot of those other games, like we were just mentioning about like round based or like mission based and stuff like that, there wasn't as much creativity. Where this one really gave you that like customization, like that gave you like all these things that you never would have expected in a game, like especially in a zombie game, because they didn't
Yeah.
really do that as much.
And this one, I mean, we were basically, yeah, you can say that there are missions to do, there are things to do in the game. It has more of the RPG feel to it, but Dead Island and Dead Rising, which Dead Rising is on I think Dead Island had its quirkiness
Oh yeah.
to it, but Dead Rising had more of a full absurd quirkiness to it. But they had similar aspects where you're running around, there's zombies, you can custom make weapons. I think like Dead Island had like a pole that you could put like a saw blade on the end
Oh
of
yeah.
it. And
Yep.
I mean, it's kind of the same with, Dead Island was more specific. Like you can make a weapon that had metal on it, but it was more for like that, you could tear limbs off better with like the modded weapons and the electrical and the fire and all these other different things. But it just became like one of those games that was just fun for killing zombies. It wasn't that they scared the crap out of you. It was more of like, let's just go and slaughter zombies,
Well,
right?
it was like kind of like if you and I were to go, well, before GTA 5 became this like absurd fucking playground of bullshit, but like like you could just spend like an hour or two, whatever, and be like, okay, whatever, we'll see each other later, and then you
you
come
could
back
do
into it
no missions
and
and just run around
yeah,
and kill zombies.
and that's
like,
exactly what most of the time we did. And then
Yeah.
at some points we were like, all right, let's do
yeah,
some
we actually
actual
have to do
missions.
some actual missions here. But I mean, Dead Rising was one of those games that there's a few of them. But Dead Rising, I think one of them you're in like a mall. But
Well, I've seen some of like so I actually never really got to play it, but I do like
I played the
I-
original one.
Well, I know like some of the clips though, it was like weird because like you'd see this like big fat lady on a little like cart, and she's like, "What the fuck you looking at?" And she would like start swearing, but like like these boss fights were like really obscene and just like weird as shit.
Yeah, it was very, very weird. But like the thing with Dead Rising is like you could on the bottom level of the mall, or I believe it was a mall. Dead Rising was one of those games that it allowed hundreds of zombies that's on screen at once. It was the first one of these games that did it. Before, World War Z, before Toxic Commando, which is a new game. You could literally just run around them, and Dead Island was a little bit different because they would actually latch onto you or swipe at you and hit you. These ones were so slow moving, like you literally could run around the whole bottom level where all these hundreds of zombies were,
Right.
and they wouldn't touch you. You just run around and be like, "Ha, see you later." Or you could pull out your bat with the little nails on the end of it and just swing away like crazy.
So yeah, just be like Negan and be like, here you go.
There you
Get
go.
Lucille out.
Yeah. We get to the newer modern evolution. These ones were more open world story based. We have Dying Light.
Well, Dying Light's a big one.
Introduced parkour. Your
Parkour.
movement was more parkour. Movement was more part of the survival. The day night cycles. Like, this is why I don't like playing Dying Light, because when it's during the day, like, you're fine. Like, you have your normal zombies, like, you can run around. It was really at night. You had these weird special infected type zombies that came out, and they hunted you harder at night. So it added like real tension to the game.
Well, yeah, and I mean it's interesting because like you won't have too many games where whether it's day or night that I would actually have a real effect on like you shouldn't be going out at night because now you're going to be facing these goddamn zombies that are like 10 times stronger than what they would be during the day.
Yeah.
And then you got a game like Days Gone, which this one when I played it originally, I mean I actually didn't really get to play all the way through. It is like so realistic to the point where, like I said, I know earlier in the episode, is like you have to be mindful of every fucking thing that you do.
I only
because-
played a little tiny bit of this.
I mean, I actually had the little. Actually, I had a figurine of the main character actually with the zombie. It was
with the motorcycle, right?
Yeah, I got rid of it a while back. But basically, that game is probably as close as like if you were to basically like be in The Walking Dead or like that's kind of like the most realistic of like what it could have been, like what it could be if you were going to do that.
Yeah.
And it's just like I said, you have to be mindful of your gas. You had to be mindful of literally everything you did, but like because you always had to scrap, you always had to like do other things, and it was just like
And there was a noise level too.
well that too,
Yeah.
and you had to be careful, especially with your motorcycle that you're riding around in. So it's like you really had to be like, oh shit, here we go, and then you just fucking zoom as quickly as you can. Even though in some of the clips that I've ever seen, like you just see like this one guy just like shoot one zombie, and then there's like 200 of them just fucking going, and they come right after you, and you're like, fuck, and then you just see them running around in circles trying to kill them all, and I'm like, you fucking dumbass, like, and then like this is definitely one of our probably favorite of them all, or at least I would say that we both agree that it is definitely a great game. Is The Last of Us, and
Yes.
granted, the only thing I didn't ever like about this is the amount of fucking remasters that they've made. They made from PS3 all the way to PS5 now.
Yeah.
Of two games they've remastered all systems from PS3 all the way to PS5. At some point, I was like, can we get a fucking third part? Can we just fucking call it a day and end it and no more fucking remasters?
Well, and this one wasn't, it wasn't about the survival horror. It wasn't about just, killing zombies. This, The Last of Us was very narrative. It was very story driven, narrative driven. And
Gotta love those cutscenes.
Yeah. But yes, another cinematic game. Yes. But you went from like that shift of survival horror and just, wanton killing zombies like crazy to actually surviving, this emotional and human conflict that was happening within the game.
I mean, and it was crazy because like this is a game that, you're right. I mean, you just saw the emotional piece to this. You saw like from the very first game to even the second game and stuff. Like you just saw like it again. These series of games have really, I mean, they've won a lot of awards for that. But not only that, it's just in my opinion, like playing the game. Now granted, I'm not going to mention the TV show now because we both know that the first season was fine.
First season was fine.
But the second one, we're not going to talk about it. Well, but anyways, no, but like it was just an interesting game to play both the the first one and the second one, and it just to see how the transition goes. I mean, now granted, if they ever did a third one, I don't know how the fuck they'd ever do that, but it really tied in the whole. And I'll say it. I would say that this one or even like Days Gone, you look at some of these other games. I'm not saying that they couldn't be real, but like The Last of Us, like the way that especially in the TV show, of how realistic, like really, if anything were to ever become to be, the Last of Us could be a very real thing. Like it's pretty
Yeah, and
scary.
I
in the
mean,
sense of
it's
that, but
really like zombie games, especially like these new modern ones, really do become like they became more cinematic, more emotional. It wasn't just about killing zombies or, yes, there is survival and there's a horror aspect to it, especially with The Last of Us.
oh, there was a
When
couple times I'm just like, oh fuck.
when you're trying to go around a clicker because you literally shouldn't make noise because you can't kill it yet, like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean, like you just can't do it. And yeah, there are those aspects, but it's very cinematic, very emotional. And one of the, The Last of Us is often credited with elevating storytelling in games because of
Oh yeah.
how deep the story was.
Well, and again, like a company like Naughty Dog, who's really like defined a lot of these games like that. I mean, it's really, like I said, it's a honestly a masterpiece. And like I said, we talked about all these other games, but this one has brought it to another level of storytelling. But you're right. I would say that this one, like I said before, if this was real life, I'd be more afraid of this whole Last of Us becoming a like kind of like a real
Yeah.
thing. That was just me. But moving on to our last part, which basically kind of ties this whole thing together, is why zombie games never die, right?
Well,
So
yeah, I mean, it's I think you can adapt them to almost any gameplay style. I mean, you have horror, you have action, you have co-op, you have the sandbox games like, Dead Island or Dead Rising, or you have more of the story-driven cinematic games, which are always my favorite.
oh yeah, I love what he talks about
But
it.
I think the genre works both, in mechanics and theme. Zombies can be enemies, they can be obstacles, or they can just be background like they are in Last of Us. I mean, the story in Last of Us is not really about the clickers and the
It's actually more about the humans, but more than
yeah,
anything.
it's more about the humans and being we're the Last of Us. But I think these game developers just keep, I guess, reinventing these zombie games and not just abandoning them. They're making them they're making this genre fresh with all these different takes on
Yeah,
zombie games.
and I would say that, I mean, yes, I will say that eventually I think they're going to probably run out of ideas to, probably be like, oh, well, this one's a spore base, this one's a virus, this one's
Yeah,
and so on
I
and so
still
forth.
think
But
I mean, I still think, and kind of mentioned it with the COD, but I think like the one type of game I haven't seen is something that would be similar to like Elder Scrolls and Elden Ring with zombies, where you have open world, you have missions, you have an RPG element, but like instead of that, because most of these like Elden Ring and Elder Scrolls are set more in fantasy,
right.
where if you did something that was similar to that in that third person, we're talking, I mean, I guess sort of like Days Gone ish almost, but like you have more of the RPG element driving the game. I think you would have really something different. I mean, I just got Crimson Desert, and honestly, I think the game probably has about 200 plus 300 plus hours of gameplay.
Oh damn.
Like, even though you may finish, like there's just so much to do and like so much. I mean, the map is just humongous, and I think that that's kind of like where you could get to, especially with crossplay.
I love how he keeps mentioning crossplay because
Crossplay.
we always, I know myself and my buddy Matt over here and our other buddy Jordan, we try to play a lot of games together as much as we can. But I know that, yes, I have made a promise to Matt that I would try to get on more. And I know as of lately, I haven't been because honestly, it's just been kind of one of those weeks and stuff like that. But I know that, yeah, I mean, looking at zombies as a whole, I mean, we've talked about the zombie genre, talking about movies. Now we're talking about the games and we're talking about all this. I mean, it's just it's interesting to talk about this because like, the idea behind it, at first it was just it honestly was a fad, for the longest time. And then now it's become literally this like subculture, but that has now become more
Yeah.
mainstream.
I think Dying Light actually came out with a new game. Was it Beast?
Yeah. So actually, I know that because my dad was playing it too, and it apparently it's a little bit harder, and there's a lot more intensity to
Yeah.
that. But like I said, a lot of these games, like Matt was just saying, is like with all these concepts, with all these like different styles and the different gameplay and all this stuff. I mean, will I see it ever die as of late? Probably not, but I think eventually, like I said, the ideas or like making it different and doing all that, I think it might be hard. It might be hard to kind of reinvent the wheel a little bit. So I think it depends on, how they want to keep doing this and how they want to, do that. But if maybe, like you said about that game idea, if there is something like that where there's a co-op, kind of base game, open world, maybe a little bit of sandbox, kind of that customization, you're running around, there's a big ass map, there's different areas, there's missions, there's kind of like that Dead Island, kind of throw in some other elements to all this and then being like, okay, well, here you go. And like you don't have to necessarily follow the story, just kind of like
Right.
go and do your
Right.
own thing. So I mean, sure, could there be a game like that? Sure. Now, here's the problem. Are they going to follow the damn blueprint? Probably not.
Well, I mean, you have to create. I mean, you could take a game like Crimson Desert. You can take a game like Elden Ring that are just like. I mean, the maps are just epically huge. Granted, I would not want to play a game with the Elden Ring, Lords of the Fallen, like a Souls type game. That's like almost impossible to play unless you're like getting leveled up. But like the core component of the game, being able to explore openly, going wherever you want, you know, with the idea of zombies being the main problem. But you would have your missions, you would have your side missions, your side quests, and all these other, you know, uh, your element of being, having to grind to get, good gear and good weapons, and maybe healing things and all these other things that you would grind for in a real survival. I'm talking almost like Walking Dead style,
Right. Type.
where you have to get water and you have to get food and you have to like you can crank up the realism to a level that's like extremely high. Like Crimson Desert surprises the shit out of me because it sucks, but it's also like an addicting game because you have to grind. But there's so much you can do in the game that's like, who would have thought of all of this shit? Like, who would have thought that I can go and pick up a fucking raccoon? Like, you can literally pick up like any of the animals and run with them. Like, you can pick up a deer if you can catch it and carry it on your back wherever you want to go.
Oh, shit. All right.
You know what I mean? It's just like, who would have thought of that shit?
Well, no, I mean, like I said, I mean, with technology and all the different advances that we've done with like video games and stuff like that, I mean, I'm not surprised. It takes a long time,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it
yeah.
takes that time to be able to develop these kinds of things. But
I don't think they're dying anytime soon, to be honest.
no, like I said, I
Which is kind of a funny pun if you think about it.
well, that's true. They're not gonna. I mean, if they're already dead, then I guess they're not dying anytime soon. No, but I mean, I think as a whole, like I said, with the genre, I think it's just we'll wait and see. I mean, like we said about superheroes right now, well, like it may or may not be a thing. It just depends. And like I said,
they just cannot make a fucking superhero game to save their life.
They can. It just depends on how they look. If we're talking about the Avengers, like there could have been so much more they could have been doing with that. But,
yeah, you could have done so much. Anyways, we're going on a tangent now,
yes.
and
but anyways, boys and girls, yes, we were going to close this up, but yes, no, we're going to say this real quick. Of course, do our little fist bump here, follow, interact, subscribe, tell a friend. But until next time.